Lately, a lot of people have been asking me about my daily meditation practice. And I thought I'd share a little bit about how I got started and what I'm doing today and what's worked for me. Because I think meditation is one of those missing pieces in most people's daily health strategy. Because let's face it, it's a lot easier for some reason to go to the gym or to get in the sauna or to take a yoga class than it is to sit down with your own thoughts and feelings. That's where things can get dicey for people. Now, I started meditating about 3 years ago, and it was really at the behest of my wife, who suggested that I start, and she was definitely right. I'll be honest, it took a long time for me to start to notice in my day-to-day the benefits, but now that I'm reaping the rewards of the practice, I can't imagine stopping. It's just too valuable in my day-to-day life. So let me tell you a little bit about what I do each day. My meditation starts first thing in the morning. I don't like to be stimulated in any way before I start the practice. So when I get up in the morning, I get out of bed. Now my wife's out of bed before me, and she does her meditation first thing as well. So she's usually already out in our living room and she's begun her practice. I get up a little after her, I make the bed, I drink the water that's by my bedstand, and then I go out into the living room and I sit down at my meditation chair. Now, I think it's really important to have an area where you practice daily. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to do every meditation in that spot, but I think it's important that you have a place where that practice is anchored. So for me, I've got a meditation chair out in the living room, and I go right over to that spot right after I get up in the morning. I also found it was really important for me to have a way to focus my thoughts, a tool to help me focus my thoughts. I love the idea of meditation beads. This is something we find all over the world in lots of different traditions and lots of different religions and different practices. And I think they are incredibly valuable, but I didn't have any when I started. What I did have was my pace beads, which are used for land navigation, for keeping track of where you are on a map. But I adapted it because it's a simple abacus. I've got 9 beads down here below this knot and 4 beads here above it. And what I would do is take a breath, and I like a breath that's shorter on the inhale than it is on the exhale. And the reason is when we have a fast, rapid inhale and then a fast, rapid exhale, we start to rev up the sympathetic nervous system. But if we have a calm, controlled, but fairly quick inhale, followed by a long exhale, that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. That reverses the fight or flight impulse that most of us are living in every single day. And sadly, a lot of people wake up in the morning and they're already activating that fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. So I use my meditation in part as an opportunity to activate my parasympathetic nervous system and help slow me down. So every time I take that breath in and that long exhale, I'd click a bead over. And I'd go through those 9 beads, those 9 breaths. And at the end of that, I'd drop those down, move one of these up. That represents 10. And I'd start again and I'd go through the 50. So that's where I started. Eventually, I graduated up to this set here. This is an Orthodox prayer rope that I've adapted over to my practice. And it's got 50 knots on it. And I just love the way these cotton knots feel slipping through my fingers. So do the same exact practice. I sit down in the morning. Each time I take a breath, I just slip one knot through my finger at that natural respiratory pause between breaths. So again, it looks like this. And then I click that bead over. And I just keep cycling through that for 50 breaths. Every morning, I've got 50 breaths to focus on whatever I choose. A lot of time, that's on prayer. Sometimes that's prayer for something in my life, but a lot of times it's prayer for other people. or it could be simply listening. So that's a more quiet meditation where I'm trying to receive that still small voice of God, because there's so much stimulation around us all the time, and so many people and software programs and apps and devices that are competing for our attention. So it's really nice to move all that stuff to the side so that you can hear that quieter voice and that clearer signal as well. Now, a couple of tips for you. One, as I mentioned before, having a consistent place where you meditate helps a lot in getting into your meditation. So an analogy would be this. I really think the bedroom should be a place where you sleep and make love. And that's about it. I don't think it's a good place to eat or watch television. I want a place where I go in there, my body knows I'm either sleeping or I'm going to make love and then probably go to sleep. So that when I step into that space, my body immediately goes into that rhythm. Well, I want a place where I go to meditate so that when I sit down, my body knows what we're doing. I don't want to use the same place that I eat or, read books or something like that. I want it to be a place that is for my meditation practice and my contemplation practice. As I mentioned before, I really recommend you meditate before you start stimulating your mind. Otherwise, whatever stimulated your mind tends to stick in there throughout the entire meditation time. And here's what I think is probably the most important thing. It's very easy for people to think, well, every time I sit down, my mind wanders. I'm not doing it right. Everyone's mind wanders when they sit down to meditate. That's actually the idea. So think of your mind like a dog that you're training. And every time the dog starts to wander off, you call it back and tell it to sit. And it sits a moment, and then quickly it wanders off again. And you call it back and you tell it to sit. And over time, it starts to learn to sit for longer periods. But that doesn't mean it won't wander off. It will. The power is not in the sitting still. That's what we get confused about. The power is in the bringing back of your mind to centered attention. The reason is, in our day-to-day life, as we are stimulated, frustrated, stressed, overwhelmed, angered, irritated, or just simply overstimulated by all the things around us, we start to notice that's happening. And when we notice that's happening, it's an opportunity to use that muscle we're building in meditation and bring ourselves back. So it's really the bringing ourselves back that we want to happen throughout the day, because it's not like we want to spend our whole day in a meditative state. We wouldn't get very much done. What we want is to bring our attention from multitasking to single tasking, from being out in so many different areas at once and directions at once to a single point of focus. It's like taking a hose that's spraying water out and focusing that nozzle so that the beam of water sprays in one direction, or turning the bezel of a flashlight so that instead of it flooding, it's actually a pointed beam, almost like a laser, so that we have that pure focus. That's the goal, not an empty mind, but a mind that knows how to focus. And in order to do that, we need to notice when our mind is wandering off. And the way we get good at that is noticing it wandering off in our meditation and quiet time, so that when things are louder, we can notice it's happening as well. And we can use that skill we've built to bring ourselves back. I really want to encourage you to find some time in your day to carve out a space for consistent, regular meditation practice. When I started 5 days a week, and that was a great start. But eventually I realized I couldn't take the weekends off. I need to meditate every single day. And now another part of that is I'm on the road a lot. And when I'm on the road, I'm staying in Airbnbs or hotels very often because I'm filming my show WildFed. And because we hunt and fish, a lot of times I'm up very early in the morning. So let's say I've got a 4 o'clock call time. If I got to be up at 4 a.m. or if I've got to be ready at 4 a.m., that means I need to get up pretty early if I'm going to get myself ready and also have time for meditation. So a lot of times what I'll do is truncate down that meditation from 50 breaths, maybe down to 15 or 20 or 25, whatever I can fit in. But rather than just skip it, I'd rather do a shortened version of it and maintain that consistency, because it's consistency over time. We're playing a long game here. This isn't about one long 8-hour meditation. This is about every single day, short meditations that build us up, right? Because how do we get fit? We don't get fit from one long workout a week. We get fit from regular workouts all the time, every day, consistently over years. So we're taking that same approach here for mental fitness. We want to be very consistent, doing the same thing every day. Now, if we have to shorten it or we have the opportunity to lengthen it, that's fantastic. If you've got the opportunity for a second meditation in the day, that's also fantastic. Great. But what you want to have is some kind of consistent practice. I recommend it's first thing in the morning. I think that's the time where it's most conducive to what we're trying to accomplish. I recommend you create a regular spot and some kind of ritualized practice. Like I said before, I've got a whole thing that I go through in the morning that leads me to that chair. And then I've got a couple of things that I do personally that are unique to me that bring me into that meditative place. And I think you'll find you'll have something similar as well. Create consistency, practice every day, and I promise you meditation will change your life for the better.